We're also recording now, just so everybody's aware.
Jeremy, just give me a heads up when you're ready to want those documents shared.
Okay. Yep, I definitely will. And we'll do the first one will be the 2019-2020 game fees. Then after I jog through those, I'll do the 2020-2021 game fees. And then that one comparative analysis we'll do at the end, but I'll prompt you.
Got it. Got it. All right, good evening. This is Robbie Lindeman with the Florida High School Athletic Association. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight. We've got Taylor Geis from our office and Jeremy Hernandez from the FHSAA. And we've also got our guests tonight, Mike Cipriano and Jeremy Walton. Tonight, they're going to be covering FHSAA game fees and the role and responsibilities and importance of an assistant referee. I'm going to turn it over to Taylor and Jeremy. Do you guys have anything before we go ahead and get started?
I just want to welcome everybody. We hope that you guys get a lot of information out of today's webinar. For questions, if you do have any questions, please hold them until our presenters go through their information. Please utilize the Q&A feature for those questions, and we will get to them at a timely manner. Jeremy, do you have anything else?
Just want to thank everyone for joining us again tonight. I'm actually on the road to a hockey tryout for my oldest son. So Taylor and Robbie are going to be heading this up for the most part. So I want to thank you guys as well for taking care of that for me.
All right, first we're going to turn it over to Jeremy and Mike and let them do a quick introduction, and then we'll go ahead and get started with Jeremy Walton and the FHSAA game fee since he was part of that committee. All right, Jeremy and Mike, if you all want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, my name's Jeremy Walton, and most of you guys should know me, but I am the president of Sunshine Officials Association out of Pinellas and Bradenton and Sarasota counties in the central part of Florida on the West Coast. And I've been a contest official for 18 years now.
I'm Mike Cipriano. I'm from Mid-Florida Wrestling Association. I've been with that association for 13 years and wrestled here in Florida locally, went to Vero Beach High School, and just happy to contribute back to the sport.
Yeah, I want to thank both of y'all for being here tonight, taking the time out of y'all's busy schedules and helping educate our officials across the state. Jeremy Walton, I'm going to turn it over to you, and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much. So I wanted to take this opportunity to do something a little bit different with the training. Typically, a lot of the training is just revolving around rules, changes, things that are coming up, points of emphasis. But I actually wanted to talk a little bit about some dramatic changes that we have happening to this coming season in terms of the game fees. And I just want to help all of the officials understand the changes to the game fees, what they mean for the individual official and the associations, and then just how we came about getting to those game fees. Because there was a lot of commotion over the past year from different officials associations across many different sports. And so I want to talk about my time on a task force that the FHSAA put together last year. And this task force was a task force solely focused on officials' compensation. And there's a lot of unrest and a lot of officials' associations across the state when they were looking at the game fees that they were getting paid comparative to other states. And so the FHSAA, to be proactive in this regard, put together this committee. And it was comprised of 5 members from the Athletic Directors Advisory Committee, the ADAC, and 5 officials from the Officials Advisory Committee, which I've served on for the past 3 years. And we sat in over the course of 3 meetings with Justin Harrison and Dr. Tommen and some other representatives of the FHSAA trying to address this question because of officials' pay, because it was leading to some potential, interruptions in officials providing services. And so that's why we convened. That's who convened in these meetings. And when we talked, we kicked around some different ideas in terms of trying to step sports games fees higher to try to get them to an acceptable level. But some of the research that I did prior to the meeting, knowing that I was going to be on the task force, was to take a look at the game fees across all of the Section 3 states. There's 8 states in the Southeast that comprise Section 3 for the National Federation. And as I was pulling the game fees, and I contacted several other state associations to just confirm what they were paying and how they structured administrative fees and booking fees and travel fees. And what I found is, although out of these 8 states, Florida had the highest cost of living, we were the lowest in terms of officials' compensation. Our game fees were very, very low. And we knew this. I mean, we knew this, they were low, but I don't think necessarily how low they were. So as we were starting to talk about how we were going to address the game fees, and there were recommendations made, increase it 3%, 5% per year, we really started looking, and that really wasn't a good option because some sports were getting paid, less. Wrestling might have been 20% less than the average of the Section 3 states, but football might have been 85 or 90% less. So we really felt like just adding a small percent every year wasn't going to do the trick, because it really didn't get us to where we needed to go or do it quickly. So I had made the recommendation to take the Section 3 averages for the game fees and to make that Florida's game fee structure. And as we continue to discuss this as a committee, actually one of the members of the ADAC had made a recommendation to take that Section 3 average and to increase that fee by $5. And just so you understand, a game fee for wrestling is considered is just not the game fee that we have for a duel or an IBT or a combination tournament or a round robin, but we actually included weigh-ins, the weigh-in fee in this as well. And so we met a couple times, and we had finally come to an agreement that we would take the Section 3 averages plus $5. And this was including Florida's current game fees at the time, as of 2019, 2020. And so we were of course, as we said, at the bottom there. And so as we were about to agree on that, a lot of the members of the ADAC really wanted to begin to discuss administrative fees, travel fees as well. Because in wrestling, we have a great community of officials and official associations, and we treat our member schools and member school districts very, very well, and we're always fair and equitable. And for a lot of wrestling officials, I mean, we may not even have known that our pay was at the bottom of Section 3. But some other officials associations across other sports, I think, have been a little bit abusive with the administrative fees that they were charging. And so we wanted to try to take a look, or at least the athletic directors wanted to take a deeper look into those. And so a concession that we made was to accept the game fee increases, not to touch the administrative fees or the booking fees that are charged, but the ADs wanted to see travel fees go away. And most of the officials, I don't think on the committee, we wanted to venture into those waters, but we felt like they'd been very fair and equitable as a committee, meeting and talking about getting that game fee structure raised. And so the concession was made that we would do away with the travel fee, but we would add an additional $10 to our game fees. And so our game fees are going to be the Section 3 average plus $5 plus $10. And that was what we ended up coming up with. The only caveat to that, because we do understand that some sports have 20 plus 30 associations to cover the length and the breadth of the state, but wrestling has, I believe, 13 associations to cover the length and the breadth of our state. And so there was a caveat put in that any game that was going to be more than 50 miles from home base, which typically home base is going to be your president's home address, the address on file that the FHSAA has for your association. So if a contest is 50 miles or greater from home base, then the game fees would increase by an additional $10 to cover the increased travel. And so I know that some officials, associations, some sports weren't very happy that travel went away, but we felt that it was fair and equitable when we surveyed all the different sports and got some feedback from them. And that was also another thing that the task force did was, clearly we have more than 5 sports, but we only had 5 officials that were representing all sports. And so part of the diligence process before we made any decisions
It looks like we may be having some technical difficulties or losing some guests. Robbie's coming back online. Jeremy, you kind of froze for a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
Am I back now?
yeah, I can hear you now. Seems like.
Yes, the internet connection was unstable there for.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like you're good for me, Jeremy.
Okay.
We lost Mike, but I'm sure he'll be back on in a second.
Oh, so we lost a lot of people.
Yeah, so you froze, Robbie had dropped off, and Mike had dropped off as well. And
Yikes.
so, I think you're good, though. So if you want to go ahead and continue, feel free.
Okay. Yep. So in addition to the game fee increases that we had for wrestling, we also had some conversations with the FHSAA concerning modifying some of the structures of the way that we're compensated as officials. And one of those things were that, we have a dual meet fee. Previously, it was $60 for a varsity dual meet, and it was $49 for a sub-varsity match. And but all tournaments were collectively under one fee structure, and that was $5 per bout wrestled. And I don't know about some of you guys, but it's just a hassle when you have a 2-day tournament, a dual meet tournament, and there's just dual meet after dual meet, and there's mats in separate areas of different buildings, and just trying to get bout totals for adequate billing. And so one suggestion that was made to the FHSAA was to group dual meet tournaments underneath the dual meet fee structure. And so that was accepted, and that was changed in the 2020-2021 wrestling game fee schedule. And so I don't know if it can be brought up now, but if Taylor or you or Robbie can bring up the 2020-2021 wrestling game fee schedule. Okay, perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to expand it on my screen a little bit. So So you see that now a varsity dual meet, including dual meet tournaments, is going to be $86 per dual meet. Previously, it was $60 for varsity. And we can also see that sub-varsity meets are now $77. So and that was $49. So we see a dramatic increase for both varsity dual meets from 60 to 86 and sub-varsity from 49 to 77. And again, these are all Section 3 averages. So when we talk about the uniformity of the pay increases, it's very uniform, it's very fair, it's very equitable. In all of my dealings with the school districts that are association services, none of the school districts or schools have had any issues with this fee increase. Although the fee increases have been fairly substantial, I think they've understood that Florida officials have not gotten pay increases too regularly over the past 10, 12 years. And so, although they didn't like to see the fees go up, nobody has made any kind of waves in terms of counter negotiating back on contracts that we've sent out that have been executed. So we see that duals have increased from 60 to 86 and 49 to 77. And then we also have an increase in our IBT and our round robin tournaments. We've gone from $5 per bout wrestled to $6 per match. And so there's some subtle changes there as well. So not only has that fee gone up 20% per match, but before it was specified as per bout wrestled, we're looking at it now as per match. So the only thing that would be excluded in this at an IBT would be a buy. So everything else would be considered a match and would be charged at the $6 per match. And then weigh-ins in sub-varsity. On that same note, in Pinellas County, in our service area, we don't have a lot of sub-varsity IBTs, but sub-varsity IBTs would be at $5 per match. Weigh-ins, as I said earlier, weigh-ins are considered a game fee. So they were previously $17. So they were taken at that 17 plus 5 plus 10. So they've increased from 17 to 32, but we have to keep in mind now that part of travel is now baked into, if we want to look at it that way, into the weigh-in. So for those of you that have questions in terms of travel, there's no longer any kind of provision in the FHSAA guidebook for us to charge individually for travel. So we have to keep that in mind. We cannot charge additionally for travel. We have the provision for travel under 50 miles, and then we have the additional $10 per game fee for if it's in excess of 50 miles from your home base. If we continue to look down, we'll see that state series has also increased. If we look at, and this has been something that, at the OAC, I've brought up for the last couple of years, has just been just the pay disparity between postseason events and regular season events, and how it seems like, I think at a regional tournament, it was averaging out to about $3 per bout wrestled, what we were getting compensated. And so I know that Robbie and Justin really wanted to address state series in addition to the regular season game fees, and super appreciative that they did. And this really brings those up. So for example, a one-day district, IBT district, has increased about 14%. Our pay would be raised from about $141 to about $161. Regions where there was a big discrepancy, that's increased 27%. And so average official who has made about $221 plus the travel, that's allotted by the FHSAA, That's increasing from $221 to about $282, so nearly $300. And then our state tournament is being raised from $258 plus travel to $339. So our state pay is getting increased over 30%. So some pretty significant increases in structural changes across the board for wrestling. And one thing that I just wanted to talk about was, these are going to be some fairly substantial fee increases for our member schools. And so I really didn't want our schools to have events that they've had every year, year after year, and then to get an invoice from us this season for their event, have the fee increase, and then the schools kind of be caught off guard, even though, their school district has agreed to and signed the contract. I found for the most part, a lot of coaches just aren't aware of the fees. And, I think they just may expect what they paid the previous year, even if their tournament changes slightly, to be the fee that they have the current year. And that's not always the case. And so one thing that we're going to do as an association is the last 3 years, the FHSAA has mandated that officials associations hold meetings for ADs and coaches, head coaches, to come to prior to the start of the season. And it's not mandated for them to come, but it's mandated for us to present these meetings. And one of the things that we like to do at these meetings are that we like to have a projector or a whiteboard, and we like to show coaches and ADs the different structures that they have and what fees would be based on some averages. And so we're going to do that again this year, and we're going to take a comparative look at events, maybe our top 5 events or some different events that are being held by our member schools, and really try to show the fee differences, and maybe even try to make some recommendations to the schools to help mitigate the cost if there's going to be any kind of substantial changes there that might have an impact in how they approach their tournament. Certainly, as officials' fees increase, coaches should be made aware of that so they can adjust their entry fees to make sure that they can cover their costs. Because the last thing that we want to do is for officials to be paid fair and equitably, but then the schools not be prepared, and then maybe that affects their abilities to be able to continue to host events, which we service. And again, as I said, all the school districts that we've been dealing with have been very accommodating to some of these discussions. So there's also some benefits that I see for the local associations. As I've been evaluating, I think that most officials will see a 20 to a 40% pay increase from what they are accustomed to making. So whatever you earned in the 2019-2020 season, it's relatively, it could be expected that your averages will, your pay will increase 20 to 40%. So if you made $2,000, you'll make somewhere probably between $2,400 and $2,800 this year. With that added pay, it does offer associations the ability to generate more revenue through dues, member dues. I know that's not popular to have high member dues, but with the rate of pay going up, if your association is maybe lagging in an operating budget, this is a perfect opportunity to generate a little bit more operating revenue by increasing those fees and then pouring those back into your association for things like training and recruitment. Our association at SOA, we spend a good bit every year in regards to training in recruitment, and we want to continue to do that. Another thing I just want to talk about is these are maximums. So when we look at the official guidebook, we are looking at it's the guidebook, but they're state maximums. So it doesn't mean in your contract that you have to charge the maximum. So know your schools, know your school districts, and what their tolerance and their ability to navigate through these game fee increases are, and construct your contracts accordingly. So what we did at SOA with our new multi-year agreements is that for dual meets, whether it's a dual, a tri, or a quad, we're charging the max of 86. But for dual meet tournaments, which have generally been being billed anywhere between $55 and $60 a dual, we've increased that only to 75 and not 86, just to kind of give our member schools a step. It is still a very good pay increase, probably a 25% increase for the fee for those events, but it just kind of mitigates that a little bit. And then for IVTs and round robins, we're going to be charging the max of $6 per match. And, just know that these are maximums and these are not to be exceeded. So I can tell you, if you construct your contracts and the contracts are in excess of the game fee structure that's found in the officials guidebook, and that comes across Robbie and Justin's desk, you will have to modify. I don't want to speak for them, but I know in previous conversations with Justin, you need to adhere to these game fee structures. So Robbie or Taylor, I don't know if you can bring up the comparative PDF that I had that just showed some of the. So Robbie's bringing this up now. Yeah, Robbie, I think it's the other PDF.
Is this the one you wanted?
Let me just zoom out and take a look. No, it's going to be the one that's going to show the comparative. It's 3 pages long. It's just got some it compares fees. Yeah, it's not that one. It would be the.
Is this the one you're looking for?
No.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's got some highlighted text in it. It's 3 pages and just shows some differences between tournaments last year compared to this year based on the new game fees. Yep, perfect. So if you look here, I just want to do a comparative game fee analysis. So I know over in Hillsborough County, 6-way duels are super popular. It's 15 duels across one day, and billed at the old fee structure of $5 per bout contested. We typically find in our area there's about 11 bouts in a dual meet. And so if we look at the previous game fee here, in a 6-way, there'd be 15 duels at an average of about $55 per duel. That's $825. And then we had the officials weigh-in fee of $17. We have officials travel fee of $15. And I know that varied across associations, but that's what our association would charge. So for a 6-way in our association, the fee plus any additional booking fees would have been $953 for the host school. The average officials pay for 4 officials on that event would have been $238 and some change. Under the new game fees for our contract of $75 per duel, we'd find that with the dual fee of $11.25, and now we have the $32 per official weigh-in fee, no travel, that same school would now be charged $1,253 for that event, plus any additional booking fees, and that would be a 31.4% increase. So you can see it's a quite sizable pay increase. Robbie, can you go to the next page on that, please? Okay, and this is always a popular event that we see throughout the season is a 16-team IBT tournament in wrestling to 6 places, double elimination. We're assuming about 406 bouts. Please, if my math is a little fuzzy, don't hate me, but I think this is right. Under the previous game fee of $5 per bout, 406 bouts, it would be a little over $2,000 plus our officials weigh-in, plus our officials travel. And that would come out to a little bit under $2,500 or a little bit over $300 for 8 officials working that event. Under the new game fee of $6 per bout with the officials weigh-in fee, no travel, we're looking at $2,820 as the new fee cost for the host school. So we see that's about a 14% increase for a 16-team IBT. And then the final one that I'll look at that I had is a 10-team combination tournament where there are 20 duels wrestled on the first day, and then a small 8-man IBT on the second day. So assuming 20 duels and 182 bouts for day 2, we can see that with all the fees calculated, it was a little over $2,400 for the host school as a total game fee cost plus booking fees. And under the new game fee, the $75, or as I said, it could be up to $86 per duel. Just depends on how your association wants to charge. We would see that the fee would go up to a little under $3,000. So we see about a 21.2% increase in the fees here. So, I'm proud of the work that the other officials in the ADs did on the task force. I think that, wrestling, it's good to see us be up with the rest of the states in Section 3. And one thing I do want to just advice I want to give you on your contracts: don't make your contracts more than 2 years, 3 years at a max, because the task force is supposed to meet every 2 years to reevaluate the Section 3 averages. So Florida, being the lowest of the Section 3 states, we did include our current game fees, which were the lowest, in the calculation for the averages. So in 2 years, our new game fees will be included in that averaging, so they're much higher, plus what the other states have increased their fees to at that point. So in 2 years, we should see another good pay increase for wrestling and for all sports, really. And so just be careful the length of the contracts that you construct, because if you exceed 2 years, you may be missing out on some increases that you may be able to take advantage of. So that's all I have for my piece.
Jeremy, I have a couple questions for you before we jump over to Cipriano.
Yes, sir.
Kurt wants to know, are they paying for forfeits?
So no. So forfeits, well, no, forfeits, as I understand it, is just buys. So forfeits, injury defaults are being, at an IBT, are being calculated. It would just be buys that would be excluded. So it's per match, not per bout wrestled. So forfeits would be included. But again, at an IBT, you don't really see forfeits.
Where do we now rank in Section 3?
So we're at the top. We're at the top as Section 3. We'd be one of the top two states. Because we have to think the game fee went from the average +5 +10, and then potentially another 10 depending on the distance. And so we are actually $15 plus the average game fee for Section 3. So that puts us at just about near at the top. I think there might be one state, it might be, I'm not sure if it's Tennessee, there might be one other state that might be a little bit higher, but we're pretty high up there. We're no longer the bottom feeder.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Juan Martinez asked, and I can answer this: do various regions have regional coaches meetings before the preseason? And I know Jeremy kind of touched on that. I know the officials in their area, and I'm sure Cipriano can verify, they meet with their coaches, and they also meet with ADs before the season starts. Go over, as a former coach, as a former AD, yes, we did meet with our coaches, and as a county, actually, we met countywide to discuss different various topics for each individual sport. So to answer your question, do the coaches meet? Yes, they do meet. I guess you more look at, they meet district-wide, and they probably don't expand out to regional, having regional meetings, but they do meet locally. Jeremy, you have anything to add to that?
No, as I said, there's just an impetus this year for us to really utilize that meeting space that we have. And who knows if it's going to be virtual or in person this year, but I think all associations really do need to make understanding and then unpacking the new game fees for the ADs and for the coaches during that meeting to help them have a better understanding of what to expect.
I agree. All right. Thank you. Great job. All right, Sip, you got no pressure here. That was pretty good.
Come on, brother.
All right. Well, I'll see if I can do it in under 5 hours. Holy Lord. So, one thing I will say in regards to that training piece that Juan asked is attendance for that historically has not been fantastic from coaches. So there's a lot of educating we have to do during the season as a result of coaches not attending that. So it will save everybody frustration if you do participate in that. A lot of times it's Bob Whitaker, the head official, coming all the way down from Jacksonville to host these, especially in our area. And there's maybe a handful of coaches that show up. So it's really incumbent upon you to do the due diligence to learn the new rules and how they're going to be officiated, but you need to do that by attending. So that's one thing I'll add to that.
I appreciate it. All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, so the assistant referee. It's something that's not generally covered a lot, and we really don't utilize it until really the postseason or some of the bigger tournaments throughout the season. So I'm just going to go over some couple of the finer points with that and things that you should be doing as an official, as an assistant official, that will make the guy's job on the whistle a lot easier. All right. So your first job, number one, right, is it's designed to minimize human error in matters of rule application and judgment. Okay. So we don't always get it right on the whistle, which is why we have the assistant at times to help us through those situations. So it will really help your vantage point and perspective if you can give us your opinion of how things are going in certain instances throughout the match. Constant verbal communication between the referee and the assistant is necessary concerning things like boundary lines. So as you're circling around, you're talking to each other and just letting the other person know, hey, be careful on the edge here. This guy keeps going to the edge. That communication should be going on between the two as you're going, as the match is going forth. All right. Near fall situation. So I've seen this happen a few times where the assistant referee is watching the action, but he is not watching the clock and his back is towards the table. In a near fall situation, your job as the assistant should be, you should be in position to be able to see the clock and the action at the same time so that if a fall is called, there's no question on whether or not it was in time. Your vantage point should be that of the clock and the action. You do not need to be on the mat to assist the referee in counting near fall or looking for the fall. You have no business being on the mat. You should be on your feet looking in those positions. All right. So especially near fall pending combinations, those are the two big ones where we see that happen quite often, where you're out of position there as the assistant. So make sure that you are facing the table. If you are, as the assistant referee, notice interlocking hands or locking hands, right? You need to be able to make that call, hold your signals up high enough to where the official on the mat acknowledges that he can see that you called it, so that he can award the appropriate points for the technical violation. All right. You've got to develop a feel for the match as well, but at no time are you to be interacting with the coaches. That is the guy's job on the whistle. So if the coach wants to talk to the official on the whistle, he needs to do that. You do not need to be a part of that. If there's a break in the action where there's injury time or blood time, your position should be at the table. If the coach wants to talk to the person on the whistle, then that's it. You are to stay out of it. That is not your domain. If you need to talk about something or the official on the whistle would like to discuss something with you, it should be done away from the scorer's table, away from both coaches. So you can give your opinion of the situation and go from there. All right. Those are some areas that I think are often overlooked and maybe not well endorsed, because I think it's just maybe lack of experience of being an assistant referee. So coaches, again, they're not even permitted to address you. They shouldn't be addressing you. Now they will, but your job is to turn it off and instruct them to walk to the table under control in an appropriate manner so that they can address it with the person on the whistle. All right. You as the assistant can give your take on what's happening, but at the end of the day, the official on the whistle holds regulation over that match. So he can agree or disagree with you. He does not have to go by what you saw. You just can give your opinion on what you think happened there or what you think in terms of points should be awarded and go from there. But at the end of the day, that jurisdiction lies on the official on the whistle. The end of the match proceedings. As the assistant official, when the match is over, you should go to the top of the mat to observe the handshaking ceremony, and then also watching the wrestlers go back to the corners to ensure there are no unsportsmanlike conduct elements occurring. That is your job. You do not need to be hanging out with a coach in the center of the mat. You should be at the top of the mat, facing the table, watching the wrestlers depart. And from there, go on. All right. So that's pretty much everything that you should be doing as an assistant official. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Let me know. If you're getting any through the chat right now, Robbie, let me know. But I think that covered all the bases.
Yeah, we'll give it up. There's a couple. Jeremy Walton, are you still around? We do have a couple. I guess now this is more towards us. Will the new fees be posted on the FHSAA website and when? Yes, those should be updated in the officials guidebook. I'm not sure. Have you all posted those or released those, Jeremy or Taylor?
Yeah, those are posted on the FHSAA Central Hub in the officials guidebook there on the left side of the screen under important documents.
It's also under FHSAA.com now. So this is important to note for our officials. We are moving away from FHSAA.org. We are now a .com, and it's under resources under the officials page.
Yeah, check out the new website if you get a chance, FHSAA.com. Just recently released from our office. Our staff has done a great job with that new release. SIP, who do you want to check in the wrestlers, the assistant or the whistle?
The guy in the whistle should check in the wrestlers. Absolutely. Because they might determine what color in terms of red or green the opponents are, and we all have different criteria for that. So the person on the whistle should check them in and determine what color they should be and report to the center of the mat.
Walton, I'm going to go to you on this one. If they have a coaches meeting, how do you reach out to your schools so you can meet with them?
Gotcha. So what we do is, we certainly have contact information for all of our head coaches and assistant coaches for our member schools, but we actually, when we put the meeting together, we reach out directly to the school district. So we reach out to the director of athletics for Pinellas County, and we let them know the day, the time, and the place for the meeting. And we allow the school districts to actually be the ones to, reach out to their coaches and to their schools. And when you do that, what we found is when you just reach out to the coaches in the ADs, you really, it's hit or miss the kind of attendance that you're going to have. But when you reach out for the director of athletics for the school district, then a lot of times, I know for Pinellas County, he mandates it, and he mandates it for ADs and for coaches to attend the meeting. So we generally have very good attendance. So that would be a recommendation for me. So, yes, reach out, send an email to your head coaches, but also have a conversation. Have a conversation with the director of athletics for the school district. you'll get much better participation.
And this will also go back to you, Jeremy. Have you had any considerations for possibly of lack of funding because of COVID this year when building your contracts?
That's a very interesting question. It's a great question. So the task force, which met 3 times with the sole explicit purpose of addressing game fees, met, actually, we had a Zoom meeting a few months ago, and that was the topic. The ADs wanted to reconvene to discuss, what, if any, impact COVID is going to have with the school's ability to meet the financial obligations of the contracts with the new fees. So we really felt like it was too early. I mean, as associations, we have to get contracts out. I mean, we have to have them done in advance of the season, and we don't want to wait till right before the season starts. So I know a lot of associations have already got contracts based on the new fee structures out. And here's what I would say. So we've actually stepped into the fees a little bit, as I discussed, especially for dual meet tournaments where the fees would really grow exponentially if you took the full max. But if COVID has some kind of drastic funding effect, and we do have a sports season this year, and our school districts came to us needing some kind of reasonable accommodation, we would certainly have those conversations and make reasonable accommodations, even though we do have contracts in place. But the task force, the conclusion that we had at the end of that meeting, that 4th meeting that we had to discuss this, Dr. Tomlin and Justin Harrison and all the members, we just said, it's just too early to really know what the impact is going to be and to make any kind of mandates. And then also we thought that, not that it would be a lack of goodwill, but, officials have waited a long time to receive just averages, game fee pay increases. And so we just decided that if there was any compelling information that came out from the schools or from the state in terms of funding, that we would revisit that as a task force and reconvene and kind of put that under the umbrella of what we would look at.
Thank you. Sip, whistle is called to the table. Shouldn't the assistant be between the wrestlers and the center?
Yes. What I was referring to is when there's an injury time and or blood time, both officials should stay out of that. That's what trainers are there for. So you should be at the table facing the wrestlers. So, but if there's a situation where a coach has his hand up and he wants to talk to the guy in the whistle, yes, you as the assistant should be standing in the middle in between the 2 wrestlers there, and let the guy in the whistle handle the consultation with the coach.
Very good. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. Do either of you have anything else you'd like to add to this presentation? I thought y'all did a phenomenal job.
One more point that I wanted to bring up with the assistant is just when the clock starts, your job is to also make sure it's starting and stopping appropriately. So you just want to make sure you have a good eye on the time as well. That's one thing I wanted to add.
This question's for me. Do we have any idea when there will be a decision update per winter sports wrestling season? Not at this time. We're currently still in the process with fall sports. But I can tell you our office will be moving towards, once the decision's made, and once we get up and going for the fall sports season, we'll be diving into winter and spring. So stay tuned on that one. Jeremy Hernandez, you got anything?
I don't have anything else on my end. Just appreciate all of you coming out tonight, joining us for the session. Thank you, Jeremy Walton and Mike Cipriano, for leading the session. Hopefully we can get you guys back on here in the next few weeks to lead a few more topics and sessions. So thank you everyone for joining us.
And Taylor, the one that's the brains behind all this operation. What do we got?
I just want to say thank you guys for all your hard work. We're chugging along, hoping we can have a season and everything gets back to normal. So look out for more of these trainings. hope to have a couple more. If anybody does have any questions about upcoming trainings or this trainings, feel free to send Jeremy or I an email. If you have any other questions in regards to the game fees or assistance, I'm sure Jeremy and Mike would be happy to answer any questions via email or anything like that. Other than that, I hope everybody has a good night.
One last thing, Robbie, before we head out. These sessions, or this session, will be posted on the FHSAA Central Hub under the sports tab and then wrestling. As soon as I get back this evening or tonight, I'll get the actual webinar session posted so you can go back and watch it or send it out to anybody else who wasn't able to make it tonight.
All right, I appreciate that, and thanks, Jeremy, for staying on with us. Jeremy's actually just arrived at Tampa for his son's hockey practice. So, again, Mike Cipriano, Jeremy Walton, I appreciate you all taking time out of y'all's busy schedules this time of year, and we appreciate your dedication to student athletes and our officials throughout our state. And thank y'all for being on here. Thank y'all.
Anytime.
All right, y'all have a good night. All right.
Bye.